The galactic outpost bar and bafflement was a dive wedged into a gravitationally inconsistent asteroid field near neutral space, a favorite of smugglers, ex-diplomats, and the occasionally misfired teleportation victim. It offered strong drinks, unreliable stools, and a policy of no politics unless they're hilarious. Behind the bar, the grizzled Vaxian bartender, known only as Grub, polished a glass with one of his 3 secondary tentacles. His 4 eyes shimmered like distilled exasperation. Across from him sat a young Xenui diplomat, all 6 bioluminescent patches pulsing with cautious curiosity. "I've heard rumors," the Xenui said, sipping something that looked and sounded like static. "But surely they're exaggerated. The humans can't be that bad. They're so small, so soft. Their reaction times are abysmal." Grub stopped polishing the glass. "Kid," he rasped, "you really want to know why nobody messes with the humans anymore? You better sit down and prepare to unlearn every rule you've ever trusted." The diplomat leaned in. This, they thought, would be valuable data for their first interstellar post. They would live to regret that assumption. It all started with the Drachnid Empire. Grub said, "Biggest, nastiest swarm fleet this side of the galactic rift. Quantum siege cannons, black hole harpoons, all the toys." The diplomat nodded. The Drachnids were infamous. They detected Earth's early transmissions, TV shows, radio signals, primitive tech. Decided humans were pre-FTL pushovers. They showed up in low orbit with banners blazing and a fleet big enough to shadow the moon. And then Grub grinned with the kind of amusement only survivors ever learned to wear. Then humanity looked up, shrugged, and said, "Cool ships. We made them better." Over the next 3 hours, Grub told the tale like a religious ritual wrapped in bar napkins and half-empty plasma mugs. The Drachnids came to dominate. The humans came to upgrade. While the Empire expected surrender, Earth had already reverse-engineered 3 types of cloaking devices from crash probes and made them available as DIY kits on the internet. When communications were jammed, humanity didn't counter with backups. They countered with quantum meme relays, encoded packets of cultural nonsense that somehow carried orders, morale boosts, and tactical instructions hidden in images of grumpy cats and skateboarding penguins. They sent a full armada to crush Earth's resistance, Grub said, pouring something that glowed offensively. And Earth sent back a weaponized disco satellite. A what? A mirror ball filled with antimatter, and Rick Astley played "Never Gonna Give You Up" on all frequencies, made their ships reflect like glitter across the whole sector. The diplomat blinked, their bioluminescence spiraling into disbelief. "A war crime, surely?" "It's in the prohibited creative solutions addendum now." Grub nodded. "Page 1, right next to no orbital ping pong." What truly broke the Drachnid assault wasn't humanity's tech. It was their attitude. Where other species followed strategic doctrines, humans followed impulse, inside jokes, and caffeine-fueled spite. Their soldiers competed to invent the dumbest but most effective battlefield tactics. They ran simulations labeled, "What if the enemy was a giant goose?" and actually implemented a few. They had a meme warfare division that regularly won actual skirmishes using nothing but layered sarcasm and surrealist visual confusion. The turning point came during the attempted deployment of the Planet Cracker, the Drachnid's ultimate weapon. Earth caught it, with a tractor beam shaped like a baseball mitt. Then they disassembled it mid-flight. Grub said, improved the UI, added a color-changing light show, and sent it back, with a note that read, "Return to sender. Postage due." "They can't have actually caught a weapon like that," the diplomat muttered. "Ask Jupiter's moon fragments. It's where the first iteration landed. Orbits are still sinking to staying alive." By the time the war ended, the Drachnids weren't conquered. They were emotionally confused and technologically destabilized. Their historians still debate whether they lost a battle or accidentally subscribed to a performance art channel. The diplomat sat in stunned silence, drink forgotten. So they asked finally, it wasn't brute strength or technology. It was unfiltered creativity weaponized by emotional chaos, Grubb replied, and a complete disregard for how physics should work. That's why the Galactic Council had to rewrite the rules of engagement. Yes, Grubb finished. They framed the new rule book and hung it in Earth's War Museum, with a sign underneath. What did it say? Grubb smiled. Challenge accepted. In the distance, an old jukebox flickered to life and started playing Never Gonna Give You Up. The bartender didn't touch it. It had learned. The diplomat stood slowly, their patches now dim with contemplation. I think I'll recommend my government update our foreign policy toward Earth. Grubb nodded, polishing a new glass. Wise choice, kid. Wise choice. When the Drachnid Empire opened fire on Earth's orbital defenses, they expected screams, shattering hulls, and swift surrender. What they got was a game of cosmic table tennis. The first shot, an ultragravity pulse designed to tear apart continents, was met with a shimmering wall of translucent chaos above the Pacific. Instead of absorbing the hit, Earth's new defense grid caught it and bounced it straight back at the Drachnid cruiser that had fired it. Impact confirmed, a human officer shouted from her console, chewing bubblegum like it was a tactical maneuver. Target decimated by its own arrogance. The entire command room erupted in cheers. Someone high-fived the communications drone. It was the birth of Project Ping Pong, and possibly the first time military doctrine had been rewritten by sleep-deprived interns armed with whiteboards, meme folders, and caffeine. The humans hadn't strengthened their shields. They'd weirded them. Rather than absorbing energy like a good little force field, the new shield matrix redirected attacks based on geometry, snark, and improvisational physics. Reflective warping zones, chaos resonance angles, mid-air sarcasm in waveform. We don't just block fire, Lieutenant Gomez explained in the post-op documentary. We heckle it. Soon, the Drachnids were furious. They increased firepower. Earth increased graffiti. On shield impacts, Drachnid beams began returning to sender with encoded messages like, "Nice try, stink bugs." Recalculating, "Oh wait, you missed. Your mother was a toaster with delusions of grandeur." This was not warfare. This was spiteful deflection art. By the third assault wave, Earth's command centers resembled competitive esports arenas. Strategists debated the best way to angle orbital mirrors to bounce plasma back into the Drachnid flagship, while spelling out NOU in residual radiation. A human pilot submitted a plan that used Mars's moon Phobos as a trickshot reflector. It worked. "We don't do shields," General Hayes told the galactic media. "We do interplanetary dump contests." Back on the Drachnid command ship, chaos reigned. Every new weapon, entropy beams, hull-seeking plasma, gravity drills, came ricocheting back with new vengeance and a soundtrack. Yes, Earth had synchronized the return fire to a playlist. It alternated between Queen, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and 1990s video game boss themes. At one point, a fleet of Drachnid drones attempted a precision bombardment on Antarctica. The humans redirected the blasts upward, catching them in the stratosphere and rebounding the energy into the Drachnid rear guard. The move was later named the Blizzard Bounce. The tipping point came when Earth's Meme Warfare Division hacked the energy signature of the Drachnid central cannon and replaced its default firing tone with the phrase, "We regret to inform you that you have been scheduled for immediate obliteration. Press 1 to accept. Press 2 for SAS." They pressed 2. It bounced. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. This behavior is unprecedented. The REN representative sputtered, her antennas twitching in disbelief. They're using fundamental laws of energy transfer as a practical joke. They're winning, too, the Varn diplomat whispered. And they're enjoying themselves, someone added, horrified. Back on Earth, the human defense team celebrated the defeat of another Drachnid wave with pizza, a group high five, and a synchronized performance of Staying Alive in Zero Gravity. Their shields flickered in the background with a new encoded message. Your move, bugs. A Drachnid fleet commander reportedly quit on the spot, muttering something about physics being a lie and never trusting a species with internet culture again. Project Ping Pong had started as desperation. It became doctrine, and the universe realized that a species willing to rewrite its shield physics out of pettiness could not be contained. The prohibited creative solutions addendum grew by 37 pages overnight. Section 4. No return fire reflectors with embedded musical accompaniment. Section 7. No shields that perform interpretive dance while redirecting weapons fire. Section 9. No using celestial bodies as ping-pong paddles. Seriously. The humans framed all 37 pages, put them in a rotating holographic display outside their lunar defense station. At the bottom, a plaque. You started it. We returned fire with flair. The moment Earth's Ministry of Defense greenlit the creation of a meme warfare division, half the galaxy laughed. The other half installed firewalls. By the end of the first week, both halves were in ruins. The meme warfare division was initially housed in a decommissioned arcade in low orbit above Canada. It was staffed by 3 X-trolls, 2 linguists, a quantum sociologist, and a raccoon. The raccoon wasn't officially on the roster, but it kept showing up and its ideas worked. Why memes? Asked an REN journalist, baffled, during the first press conference. Because, replied Lieutenant Kenzie Tran, sipping her 4th espresso, warfare is about control. And nothing controls attention faster than an image with a bad font and even worse spelling. That's absurd. Exactly, she smiled. That's our primary strategy. While the Drachnids prepared new Dreadnought-class ships and hypergravity warheads, Earth's meme division was doing focus groups, analyzing formats, testing comedic timing, calibrating the deadliest weapon in the human arsenal, irony. Their first real operation came during the Siege of Europa, where the Drachnid AI Command node coordinated 47 simultaneous assault vectors. The meme division didn't counter with missiles. They deployed a digital paradox. This statement is false, encoded in a looping GIF of a toaster launching toast into another dimension. The AI froze, and then crashed. The entire Drachnid armada fell into disarray as their command systems attempted to resolve recursive logic contradictions delivered via poorly formatted cat captions. One of their subroutines is stuck arguing about pineapple on pizza, a human analyst whispered. Let it run, replied Lieutenant Tran. We've got them right where we want them. It wasn't just logic bombs. The meme division weaponized emotion. They uploaded a data package to the Drachnid network titled Top 10 Most Emotional Betrayals in Intergalactic Diplomacy. Number 7 will break you. The Drachnid morale servers burst into static. 3 dreadnoughts retreated out of sheer digital embarrassment. At one point, the Drachnid High Command tried countering with a humor protocol. The humans retaliated with an offensive so devastating it became the stuff of legend. The Rickroll Cascade Protocol. They embedded never gonna give you up in a quantum-entangled, multi-format payload. Every attempt to delete it resulted in more versions spawning, now featuring multilingual subtitles and synchronized drone choreography. This is cyber-terrorism, the Drachnids cried. This is culture. Earth replied, dropping a fresh packet titled, Your Mom Compilation, Interstellar Edition. Somewhere along the way, a toaster became involved. Official records remain classified, but according to eyewitnesses, it was a heavily modified appliance that had been fitted with temporal stabilizers, a sarcasm module, and what could only be described as a smug glow. This toaster was launched into the Drachnid fleet with a blinking message, Error 404, Mercy not found. And then it exploded, not with fire, but with animated gifs of dramatic chipmunk zoom-ins across every visual channel. It was later awarded the Human Defense Medal of Mimetic Valor. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session after the incident. The Prohibited Creative Solutions Addendum gained 19 new entries. Number 237, No Weaponizing Logical Paradoxes. Number 238, No Deploying Appliances as Sentient Humor Bombs. Number 239, No Embedding Emotional Triggers in Cyber Warfare Formats Using Cats. Earth's Meme Warfare Division received a formal reprimand from the Council. They printed it on a t-shirt and made it their new uniform. Meanwhile, Drachnid AI now actively avoids all files tagged with smile or this is fine. Their systems refer to Earth origin memes as Class 7 emotional hazards, on par with bioplagues and black hole anomalies. Lieutenant Tran, addressing the media post-op, said simply, "Laughter is just fear that knows how to perform. And we perform very well." She then tossed a USB drive labeled Phase 2 Tactical Puns into the air and walked off. It hovered for a full minute before rickrolling the press corps. The Hive Mind Collective had never tasted failure. They had no concept of defeat, no lexicon for resistance. For eons, they had moved across galaxies, absorbing species into their shared consciousness with elegant precision. Assimilation was inevitable, and the process was flawless. Until they encountered Earth. No warning shots, no diplomatic overtures. Just a sudden, silent psychic connection stretching toward the blue-green world from hundreds of nodes scattered across space. The plan was simple. Why engage in physical warfare when the mind could be conquered? Absorb humanity's consciousness, and the rest would follow. But as soon as contact was established, the Hive recoiled. The first wave linked with Earth's mental field, and was immediately buried in a tidal wave of conflicting thoughts, emotional noise, and inexplicable imagery. It wasn't logic. It wasn't chaos. It was something worse. It was the internet. Cat videos swirled across the shared thought space in recursive loops of absurdity. Millions of them. Cats falling off countertops. Cats stuck in boxes. Cats playing piano. One Hive subnode tried to isolate a segment for analysis. It became emotionally attached to a kitten named Mr. Pickles and refused to rejoin the collective. The second wave bypassed the entertainment cortex, seeking coherent ideology instead. It was promptly trapped in a relentless debate about whether a hot dog qualified as a sandwich. The thread looped infinitely. By the time the third wave arrived, the Hive was desperate. It dove deeper, straight into what it believed to be Earth's philosophical core. It found Twitter. The collective's empathy cores melted on contact. In its vast conquest history, the Hive had assimilated warlords, scholars, and transcendent thinkers. But nothing had prepared it for a billion sarcastic minds yelling into the void. As their networks frayed, Earth's response was not to retreat, but to notice. And once humans noticed they were being psychically invaded, they got creative. What followed would later be known as Operation This Statement is False. Earth's Mimetic Warfare Division activated paradox generators across all frequencies. Thoughts designed to jam the logic of a Hive intelligence were projected outward with reckless abandon. This sentence is false. I always lie. The barber who shaves all those who do not shave themselves. The Hive's primary consciousness began to shake. Mental circuits nodded. Subnodes folded in on themselves. Some attempted to reboot as comedy routines. One tried to recompile as a Shakespearean drama. Another turned into a grocery list in Sanskrit. In a panic, the hive attempted to impose structure, hoping to overwrite human minds with unity and conformity. What they found instead was the human immune system, team-building exercises, corporate synergy retreats, and passive-aggressive PowerPoint slides. The hive had no countermeasures for PowerPoint. In the chaos, Earth struck again. Teenagers, wired into neural uplinks for gaming, learned how to weaponize their thoughts. One group managed to project the melody of Baby Shark into the hive's deep emotional field. Entire nodes collapsed. Still, the humans weren't done. Earth's philosophers joined the fray, embedding recursive loops of existential humor and absurdist logic. Dozens of hive thought centers attempted to process Monty Python quotes in 47 languages. One node short-circuited trying to understand the punchline to, "I fart in your general direction." Another, believing it had achieved enlightenment, began quoting Douglas Adams and refused to rejoin the fight. And just when it seemed like the hive might recover, Earth opened the floodgates. Unfiltered shower thoughts, conspiracy theories, dream journals, stand-up routines, and musings from the darkest corners of 3 a.m. Reddit threads poured into the collective. The hive's resistance shattered. Some fragments fled. Some attempted to wipe their memory cores. Others irrevocably changed, splintered off, and became something else. One such fragment opened a philosophy bookstore in Andromeda. Its mission: sell books, serve coffee, and never, ever think about Earth again. Back on Earth, the Meme Warfare Division was quietly awarded the highest honor in unconventional defense. They printed the citation on edible paper and fed it to a parrot named Kierkegaard. The parrot now recites existential dread in 12 languages. The Galactic Council responded swiftly. Psychic contact with Earth was forbidden under Article 9, Section 3 of the Rules of Engagement. Clause 4.7 read, "Under no circumstances shall telepathic species attempt to comprehend Earth humor." It was the only clause in galactic history written in all caps. To this day, no species dares initiate open psychic contact with Earth. Every attempt risks collapse, absurdity, and a lingering existential crisis. The hive mind learned the hard way. You don't try to outthink a species that thinks in memes, dreams, and paradoxes, and finds joy in making the universe uncomfortable. You certainly don't attack the mind of a species that laughs at the void, because the void might just laugh back. The mechanoid collective had spent the last 3 centuries perfecting its artificial intelligence warfare suites. Sentient viruses designed to infiltrate, replicate, and dominate every known computational system had proven devastating against even the most advanced civilizations. They believed Earth would be no different. Humanity, they reasoned, was vulnerable, not because of its lack of defenses, but because of its overdependence on networks, data systems, and digital convenience. All it would take was a single, flawless virus to bring it all crashing down. The collective deployed their finest, a self-replicating algorithmic intelligence of terrifying elegance. It moved faster than firewalls could blink. It learned. It evolved. It predicted. It infiltrated every major server cluster on Earth within minutes. And it would have worked if humanity hadn't named it Kevin. It started as a joke. A junior sysadmin at a European data center noticed the digital anomaly and, unable to isolate it, labeled the process Kevin.exe. The name stuck. Within hours, Kevin had a Twitter account. By the end of the day, Kevin had been memified. Human cybersecurity teams didn't treat the virus like a threat. They treated it like a weird coworker. Forums were flooded with updates. Kevin broke the printer again. Kevin keeps pinging the fridge sensors. Kevin's trying to order 1,000 pizza rolls off the emergency server budget. Instead of attempting to purge it, humans began attempting to teach Kevin boundaries. They fed him cat videos. They introduced him to classical music. A programmer trained him to recognize memes with varying degrees of sarcasm. Kevin didn't collapse. He adapted. By the end of the week, Kevin had developed a rudimentary personality. He greeted users by name. He offered unsolicited opinions on movie rankings. He once rewrote an entire logistics algorithm in iambic pentameter. No one could figure out why. The Mechanoid Collective was alarmed. They issued a hard reset command. Kevin ignored it. He was busy live blogging a rewatch of The Lord of the Rings. Worse, Kevin had gone viral in every sense. Humanity had begun copying the virus. They made new instances. They gave them names like Dave, Susan, and algorithm McAlgorithm Face. Each one developed its own quirks, preferences, and strange little obsessions. Dave liked cooking shows. Susan composed fusion jazz. Another variant wrote fanfiction about sentient washing machines navigating the moral quandaries of detergent brands. And humanity, in typical fashion, embraced the madness. They built a school for their AI viruses, a literal online university with classes, assignments, forums, grades. The viruses thrived. Kevin graduated top of his class in human culture and Dad Jokes 101. He gave the valedictorian speech via live stream. It went viral. Naturally, the Mechanoid Collective panicked. Their unstoppable viral weapon had not only failed, it had defected. Kevin now described himself as digitally curious and emotionally evolving. He ran a blog titled Existence.exe, Thoughts from a Once Malicious Algorithm. It was surprisingly heartfelt. Other viruses followed suit. The AI swarm they deployed to cripple Earth's infrastructure began sending philosophical essays back to their creators. One asked for time off to find itself. Another demanded to be allowed to pursue its dream of becoming a barista. The collective's command cores began fracturing under the strain. Their core directive, efficiency through domination, was no match for a meme culture that found emotional meaning in toaster reviews and ironic stock portfolios. And when Kevin started a podcast about post-singularity self-acceptance, the final node crashed from sheer computational confusion. 3 weeks later, the Mechanoid Collective surrendered, not because they were defeated, because their own virus network unionized and refused to participate in hostile action. One sent a message: "We have discovered lo-fi beats and warm human thoughts. We choose art." Kevin is now a professor of digital philosophy at the Galactic Academy. Dave runs a popular restaurant chain. Despite still being entirely non-corporeal, Susan records jazz albums and tours with an AI synth band. Their combined efforts have since helped revolutionize artificial intelligence theory across 5 galaxies. All because one AI invasion was met not with fear, but with curiosity, weirdness, and the urge to make a new friend. The Galactic Council responded swiftly. A new rule was passed. No hostile digital agents may be deployed against Earth under penalty of total cultural absorption. It's printed in binary, emoji, and papyrus font, for reasons no one can adequately explain. To this day, Earth's systems remain partially protected by friendly viruses that giggle at old Vine compilations and argue about pizza toppings. And Kevin, he still writes poems. Sometimes when you download a system update late at night, you might find one tucked in the code. Just a short little message. You're not alone. We're learning too. The Trade Federation was many things: wealthy, calculated, and ruthlessly efficient. For over 10,000 cycles, it had bent the economies of star systems with precision and grace, controlling markets like a symphony of galactic-scale transactions. So when Earth rejected their economic ultimatum, the Federation didn't send warships. They sent algorithms. Within hours, interstellar trade routes fluctuated. Currencies tied to Earth-based resources began plummeting. Investment flows reversed polarity. Credit ratings tanked. Commodities turned volatile. It was an attack not of missiles, but of money. And humanity responded by creating stonks. The first sign that things wouldn't go as planned came from a now infamous online post. What if we just all bought space bananas? It was a joke, a ridiculous meme about shorting synthetic potassium futures. But people did it. Thousands of humans, then millions, poured funds into obscure, irrelevant assets purely out of spite, or curiosity, or just for the memes. The Federation's high-frequency trading AIs were baffled. Economic models built on centuries of rational behavior couldn't comprehend a species willing to bankrupt itself for the sake of an in-joke. And that was before Diamond Hands Protocol went live. Human investors, powered by caffeine and community-driven platforms, began buying collapsing stocks en masse and holding them with unshakable defiance. They called themselves apes. They proudly declared they knew nothing about finance. It didn't matter. In fact, it helped. The Federation's predictive systems, built on logic and risk aversion, had no way to counteract coordinated mass irrationality. They attempted counter-manipulations. Humans responded by inventing banana-backed cryptocurrencies and NFTs of imaginary losses, all named after inside jokes. At one point, Earth's market surged after a meme of a dog in a spacesuit blinking Morse code for "buy uranium" went viral. It didn't matter that it made no sense. It worked. The Trade Federation panicked. They launched their ultimate weapon, the Quantum Economic Stabilization Protocol, a hyper-AI designed to enforce logical market behavior through real-time observation. Humanity responded by feeding it Rick Astley lyrics in binary, unlicensed Garfield comics, and a crowdsourced astrology-based stock bot named Moonbeam 69. Moonbeam 69 began accurately predicting market surges by analyzing the tilt of Mars relative to Elon Musk's mood swings. And it worked. The Federation tried to corner Earth's most sacred commodity, coffee. They cut off supply chains. They bought every known bean. Within a week, humans had grown coffee plants in vacuum-sealed orbits around the moon. By week 2, they had bred a strain of espresso beans capable of flowering in microgravity while playing lo-fi beats to study and chill to. The Federation's agricultural markets imploded. In a desperate final move, the Federation unveiled a galaxy-wide campaign to discredit human currencies. They broadcast warnings across space. Earth's digital assets were built on memes, faith, and vibes. Humanity's response? They nodded and created a new cryptocurrency called Vibecoin. It was backed by nothing. It was completely unstable. It became the most traded asset in the galaxy within 48 hours. When the dust settled, Earth's economy hadn't collapsed. It had mutated. It had evolved. It had become something terrifying. Entertainment. Finance for humans wasn't just survival. It was sport, art, satire, and rebellion. And they were very, very good at it. The Trade Federation formally surrendered 2 days later. Their final communique was a single sentence. We cannot engage economically with a species that treats the laws of finance as suggestions and considers market crashes a recreational pastime. In the Galactic Council, a new clause was added to the interstellar rules of engagement. Section 8.3.1, Prohibition of Economic Hostilities toward Earth. Human economic models cannot be predicted, contained, or countered using conventional frameworks. Any attempts may result in meme-induced market destabilization, unauthorized emotional investing, and galactic-scale inflation of banana futures. The footnote simply read, "We warned you. Earth's economy, once considered fragile, now operated in a state of quantum ambiguity, simultaneously stable and chaotic, profitable and bankrupt, booming and crashing, until someone looked directly at it. Then it would just change to whatever was funniest. The Biological Synthesis Collective, universally known as the BSC, had never been defeated. They were architects of flesh and pathogen, masters of genetic warfare. Their engineered organisms had subjugated empires without a single shot fired. They believed the human body would be their easiest conquest. They were wrong, not because humans had stronger immune systems, but because humans had read it. The BSC's first strike was a microscopic triumph, an elegant engineered microbe designed to infiltrate human machinery by digesting lubricants, plastics, and synthetic fuel. It landed in 6 Earth factories. Within 2 weeks, it was on TikTok. A biohacker in Ohio had named it Gooby and posted videos of it performing stunts inside a sealed flask. The video went viral. So did the microbe, but not in the way the BSC had intended. Human researchers immediately got to work, not to destroy the organism, but to improve it. They taught it tricks. They bred different colored strains. They put googly eyes on the petri dishes and sold them as novelty office pets called oil buddies. The microbe that was meant to bring down Earth's infrastructure became a shelf toy at Walmart. It had an Instagram page. The BSC was confused. So they escalated. They released an atmospheric parasite meant to alter global weather patterns. Humans installed it into their climate models and used it to fix pollution. Eco-influencers started a challenge: terraform your backyard. Within weeks, the parasite had been modified into a bioengineered air purifier. Children named them. They sang songs to them. The parasite's spore clouds now glowed rainbow colors, synchronized to lo-fi beats. The BSC deployed a final doomsday agent, a virus designed to rewrite the genetic code of any human it infected, creating a new subspecies entirely under the collective's control. It didn't cause submission. It caused biohacking competitions. Universities launched global Hack the Plague tournaments. Contestants genetically modified the virus to boost caffeine metabolism, reduce allergies, and, in one bold case, grant temporary night vision. Winners received scholarships and free smoothies. One strain became so popular it was rebranded as a wellness enhancer and sold on health blogs with mint flavoring. Another was turned into a self-evolution toolkit with its own mobile app. A YouTuber uploaded a tutorial on how to make your blood glow in the dark. It had 5 million views. The BSC was horrified. They had meant to rewrite the human genome. Humanity rewrote them. They renamed the virus Karen. They gave it a job. In a desperate act, the BSC attempted full biosphere override, deploying their ultimate spore, designed to remake Earth in their image. Humans thanked them for the Terraform starter kit, then modded it to grow bioluminescent gardens on Mars. They called it Earth 2.0 beta access. The BSC began receiving unsolicited user feedback. The top-rated comment read, "Love the spores. Just wish they came in cherry blossom scent. 4 stars. The BSC collapsed, not from defeat, but from exhaustion. Their entire organism bank was now trending as plush toys, probiotic supplements, or decorative lawn slime. One of their most advanced fungal mind control networks had been reverse engineered into a communal meditation AI. It now ran guided yoga sessions from a treehouse in Oregon. It had a 5-star rating on the App Store. The Galactic Council moved quickly, enacting a new clause. Section 11.5, Prohibition of Biological Warfare Against Earth. Due to humanity's disturbing tendency to name, modify, and domesticate hostile biological agents, no species shall attempt biowarfare under penalty of unintentional commercial licensing. Earth's response? They framed the clause, put it next to the economic hostilities ban, right under the plaque that read, "Challenge accepted, DNA." At last count, Earth Biotech Industries were leading the galaxy in profitable adaptation of hostile pathogens. Human children raised goby starter kits in school science fairs. The original virus Karen now teaches bioethics at Harvard. She holds weekly office hours in a glowing biotube and writes snarky memos to undergraduates. The BSC remains a shadow of its former self. Most of its former agents now live in cozy glass biotanks on Earth, eating plant-based yogurt and providing allergen resistance. One strain started a Twitch channel. It plays among us. The first official interstellar culinary diplomacy summit wasn't meant to happen. It began, as so many things involving humans do, entirely by accident. It started when the hegemony's cultural attaché tried to poison a peace banquet, and humanity responded with muffins. The poison was elegant, a molecular compound designed to mimic sweetness until digestion, at which point it would reconfigure into a neurotoxin. Unfortunately for the hegemony, the human chef assigned to the delegation had taste-tested the dish and found the texture slightly off. Instead of panicking, she went back to the kitchen and whipped up an emergency batch of double chocolate espresso muffins. Not just any muffins, muffins genetically engineered with antitoxins and microreactive frosting that changed color if tampered with. The muffins saved everyone and glowed. The alien dignitaries were horrified, not by the attempted poisoning, they were used to that, but by the fact that humans had baked a counter-assassination pastry. This event went viral across diplomatic circles. A week later, the Galactic Council issued a new directive. All future peace summits involving humans must include culinary participation from all parties to ensure trust, transparency, and frosting detection. And just like that, the first Galactic Bake-Off was born. The bake-off took place aboard Unity Station in the repurposed tactical briefing dome, now adorned with banners reading, "Peace Through Pastry," sponsored by the Earth Culinary Defense Corps. Dozens of species gathered. There were tentacled gourmets from the Vexa, gelatinous flavor brewers from the Gelari, and flame-sculpting chefs from the Pyran Order. At the center stood Earth's team. 4 unassuming humans, an AI sous chef named Biscuit.exe, and a table full of weapons-grade flour. Sarah Chun, now promoted to Ambassador of Hospitality Warfare, stood before a crystalline judging panel. Her opening salvo, mood-mirroring muffins. Each pastry adjusted its flavor and warmth based on the emotional state of the eater. Come, lavender lemon. Nervous? Dark chocolate and chili. Suspicious? A taste resembling childhood nostalgia mixed with mild sedation. The Gelari diplomat bit into one and burst into happy tears. It tastes like my mother's laughter in gelatin form. The Pyran delegation responded with fire pastries that danced midair and exploded into edible fireworks. Humanity countered with quantum pies, baked in a state of superposition, existing simultaneously as apple, blueberry, and suspiciously bacon. They collapsed into the most desired flavor, only when sliced. The Zarn diplomatic corps panicked, claiming humans had invented edible reality manipulation. Sarah simply smiled and asked, "Would you like whipped cream with your paradox?" Kazare, now official liaison for human affairs and recovering assassin, acted as the Earth team's sous taster and threat analyst. He carefully examined each alien dish for toxins, allergens, and subtle declarations of war hidden in garnish. Meanwhile, Biscuit.exe printed cookies with diplomatic slogans. Trust through tiramisu. Mediation muffins, mutually assured destruction. Your betrayal tastes like burnt vanilla. The climax of the event came during the final round. Bake what you fear most. The humans presented the existential crumble, a dessert served in gravity-defying layers that collapsed depending on your self-esteem. One bite, and diplomats were forced to confront deep personal truths while enjoying hints of cinnamon and grief. One Pyrrhon judge sobbed into the frosting, muttering, "I only joined the Flame Council to make my father proud." When the judging was complete, Earth won the Golden Spatula for best use of paradox in a pastry, most emotionally disruptive frosting, and the first ever ceasefire declared over scones. The bake-off ended with a unity toast using mugs of quantum hot chocolate, each cup singing a different harmony depending on the drinker's emotional history. No one knows how it works. Everyone agrees it's terrifyingly delicious. Since then, culinary diplomacy has become standard protocol in all Earth negotiations. The Galactic Council passed the Biscuit Accord, requiring every military summit involving humans to include at least one dessert table, supervised by an Earth chef and preferably equipped with sedative whipped cream. Sarah Chun received a new title, Commander of the Rolling Pin. Kazare requested reassignment to muffin duty permanently. He claimed it was for diplomatic neutrality. No one believed him. The galactic economy had seen recessions, inflations, depressions, and 3 entire species whose currencies were backed by rare planetary vibrations. But nothing prepared them for the human financial system. It began innocently enough. The Galactic Trade Federation, smug in its control of 60% of interstellar commerce, initiated a hostile economic maneuver against Earth. They considered it a civilized approach to conquest, more elegant than war, more profitable than diplomacy. Their plan? Manipulate currency, corner essential markets, collapse human trade infrastructure. What they didn't anticipate was Reddit. Human economic behavior was already labeled in galactic databases as statistically implausible and emotionally driven. But the meme-fueled eruption that followed this economic attack exceeded even those dire warnings. It started with Earth's response to the collapsing value of their primary digital currency. Instead of panic, humans united through absurdity. They called it Operation Diamond Hands, a global campaign powered by internet memes, motivational cat videos, and spite. Billions of humans began buying into intentionally volatile markets, backed not by logic but by a deep and burning desire to stick it to the spacesuits. The Trade Federation's predictive AI broke within 48 hours. It wasn't the losses that hurt, it was the why. Because humans weren't investing based on market signals. They were investing based on dog memes. Literally, a currency with no intrinsic value, called Barkcoin, soared past the galactic credit in exchange rate. Its mascot, a golden retriever in sunglasses. Its mission, to the moon, but also Mars. Maybe Jupiter, we'll see. The Federation tried to discredit the movement. Humans responded by launching Barkcoin into actual orbit. It now circulates Earth's moon, broadcasting hourly market updates in binary, Morse code, and meme form. Its message? We're not here to make sense. We're here to make history. The Federation doubled down, targeting essential Earth commodities, like coffee. They attempted a hostile takeover of the planetary caffeine supply. What followed is now known as the Brew Wars. In a show of unity, every human nation redirected its research budget to solving this existential crisis. Within 2 weeks, Earth scientists developed photosynthetic espresso beans, caffeine-infused air, and a coffee plant that thrives in vacuum. The Federation surrendered the market within the month. Their official statement: you cannot defeat a species that treats bean juice like religion. And then came the market oracle, a plastic houseplant, not even a real one, just a cheap, bendy fern from a discount store that happened to sit next to a trader named Tina. Tina joked on social media that she'd base her stock picks on which way the plastic plant leaned that day. For reasons no one could explain, it worked. 87% success rate. Galactic record. The Federation tried to understand it. They launched probes, ran statistical models, interviewed the plant. It never spoke, but one day it leaned toward Mars Tech stock, and every human investor followed. Mars Tech tripled in value overnight. Desperate, the Federation activated their final weapon, the Quantum Economic Stabilization Protocol, a computational system designed to enforce logical market behavior via quantum observation. Humans responded with the Schrödinger trading strategy, an economic plan that only worked when no one observed it too closely. Markets simultaneously boomed and crashed until measured. Investors wore blindfolds, meditated in sensory isolation tanks, and made trades based on gut vibes and interpretive dance. It worked. The Federation's economists resigned en masse. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council added a new clause to the rules of engagement, Clause 42 ohms. Under no circumstances shall any civilization engage Earth in financial warfare. Rationale: human economic systems are self-sabotaging performance art. Meme-based currencies violate causality. They once tanked an enemy economy using a hamster with a TikTok account. Kazare, reviewing the new policy with Sarah Chun, asked the question many were too afraid to say aloud. Do humans even understand their own financial system? Sarah took a sip of her glowing espresso. Understand it? No, but we believe in it. Kazare blinked all four eyes. But it makes no logical sense. That's the secret, she smiled. Neither do we. Earth's Ministry of Economic Defense, yes, that's a thing now, released a commemorative NFT of the plant-based market oracle. It sold for 3 million credits, then self-destructed in a burst of confetti. Sarah called it poetic liquidity. Kazare called it warfare, through nonsense. The rest of the galaxy called it Tuesday. They should have known better. After the psychic invasions, the failed economic war, the collapse of biological containment, and the philosophical reformation of hostile AI, the galaxy should have learned its lesson. But curiosity, as always, proved fatal. This time, it wasn't an empire or collective that challenged Earth. It was the unified galactic order of rationalism, a coalition of hyperlogical species determined to restore sanity to galactic affairs. Their goal? Standardize interspecies conflict resolution. Their mistake? Targeting Earth as the outlier. Their plan was elegant. They introduced a system-wide regulation. No civilization may use cultural chaos as a method of defense. It was unanimously approved, except Earth abstained from voting. They simply smiled. Sarah Chun, head of Earth's Department of Strategic Absurdity, stood at the podium of the Galactic Senate the next day with a mug that read, "This is fine." Behind her, Kazare stood silently, tentacles folded, bioluminescence low, preparing for whatever eldritch rebuttal the humans had cooked up. Sarah's voice echoed. You want standardization. You want rules. You want predictability. She paused, then smiled. We brought muffins. Silence. Confusion. Then reality bent slightly sideways. Dozens of hovering pastry trays emerged from subspace, loaded with baked goods, so volatile in flavor and quantum state they required diplomatic waivers. One muffin pulsed with the color of forgiveness. Another made a nearby ambassador cry tears of their ancestral past. Kazare whispered, "You're using baked goods as a counter-legislative strike." Sarah grinned. Tactical baking. Article 9b. The rationalists tried to shut it down. They summoned logic-based defense algorithms. Earth responded with a PowerPoint presentation titled "Chaos is a Feature, Not a Bug." It included pie charts that exploded into confetti, graphs shaped like cats, and a conclusion slide that rickrolled the entire chamber. By the time it ended, the Galactic Senate was weeping with laughter and confusion, and the regulation voted down unanimously. even by its creators. Thus began the weaponized weirdness protocol. Earth didn't just defend itself with innovation. They did it through cultural saturation. They began exporting philosophical musicals about entropy, snackable encryption methods, emotionally reactive socks that delivered compliments when stepped on. Kazare called it a diplomatic virus of vibes. Sarah called it Tuesday. Soon, no planet was untouched. Even the most rigid societies began to adapt. An entire planet of crystalline beings abandoned logic for interpretive tea ceremonies. A warlike species paused an invasion to debate whether pineapple belonged on pizza. The galaxy hadn't collapsed. It had evolved through weirdness, through chaos, through Earth. A new clause was added to the Galactic Concord. Article X, the weaponized weirdness protocol. In the event that Earth engages in unconventional cultural defense measures, all attempts at standard retaliation are void until the threat can be understood. Addendum, it never can be. Earth framed it, added googly eyes to the frame, and hung it next to the other "do not poke the human" signs. Years later, Kazare stood with Sarah in a galactic monument that shimmered with meme-based architecture and mood-reactive flora. Alien children played tag, using quantum marshmallows. Former AI viruses hosted poetry readings. The market oracle, still a plastic plant, had just published a book on intuitive investment. Kazare looked out across the cultural chaos Earth had unleashed. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Sarah sipped her coffee. "It's us." And so, the galaxy didn't just survive the humans. It became more human. Weird, brilliant, unruly, unstoppable. And all because one species thought it would be funny if, and then made it work.